Good morning, Vancouver. It's October the 10th, 2013. I'm Steve Ferguson, and from East Vancouver, this is Terminal City News. Internet commenters, who are always known for their logical reasoning and measured responses, are lambasting the new design of the Hockey Canada jerseys for the upcoming Olympic Games. Apparently, they bear far too much of a resemblance to Nazi officer uniforms. I find any such comparisons ridiculous. Just because we as a society glorify those who are in peak physical condition, that play a game that requires significant investment from a young age, guaranteeing a degree of affluence, overrepresented by Caucasians who are paid ludicrous sums of money for their pursuit of being superior at a sport that encourages violence, is in no way indicative, in my mind, of Nazi Germany, so please stop invoking Godwin's law, people. Bavjit Tandy was driving in Saanich last summer when a police officer pulled him over for allegedly talking on his cell phone. Tandy retorted that he was merely putting his gym membership card into his wallet, but the officer didn't buy it. So, Tandy thought he'd perform an experiment and circle round, driving down the same stretch with his wallet pressed against his ear, talking into it. Sure enough, he was pulled over again, and he pressed the officer that they couldn't tell whether or not he was talking into a wallet or a cell phone. Ha ha! Take that! Well, this week, a judge threw out that argument, as Tandy must not realize that the issue isn't about talking into a cell phone, it's about distracted driving. Even more shockingly, Judge Hunter W. Gordon has heard this excuse before.
I would estimate that I've heard the same explanation from male drivers at least a dozen times in the past couple of years, and am somewhat skeptical when I hear this defense from male drivers who claim they were holding a wallet to their ear. It is a practice that holds no logic. Sorry, one moment, I need to get this. Hello?
October 7th, 2013 marked the 250th anniversary of King George III's declaration that the Government of Canada must recognize the Indigenous rights of the First Nations people. Was King George III mad? Mad King George? Is that the crazy one? Yeah, nice. Naturally, the Harper administration celebrated the event with choosing to ignore their objections to the Northern Gateway pipeline, which forced them to appeal to the United Nations. Because the First Nations. Happy anniversary! In further news, Justin Bieber was spotted last week. Brazil's Mine and Energy Ministry has put forward angry allegations that Canadian spies have infiltrated their organization. Communications Security Establishment Canada, or CSIC, has allegedly mapped out their communication grid for undoubtedly nefarious purposes. When pressed about this, Prime Minister Stephen Harper has refused to comment, citing national security. Who's national security exactly? How exactly does this affect Canada? Why is engaging in international espionage with mining operations having to do with national security? Are they selling more asbestos than we are? Are they ignoring their indigenous cultures more than we are? Are they annihilating their ecosystems more efficiently than we are? Is this mission too boring for CSIS? With a cigarette in his mouth, Justin Bieber was spotted. Anholt GFK has placed Toronto as the 8th best city to live in the entire world. And the real kicker is Vancouver didn't make the list. Why not? Surely it's not because of the urban sprawl, the heavy pollution, the outrageous cost of living, the unrealistic wages, the intense catering to businesses by the provincial government, the perpetual scandals by our MLAs, the lack of proper representation in the voting system, Surrey, the terrible infrastructure maintenance, the brutality of the police force against the citizens, the financial disaster that was the Olympics, the constant destruction of heritage buildings, the lockdown of cultural hubs, the antiquated liquor laws, the neglect of First Nations communities, the downtown east side, the high child poverty rates, the intense apathy over social justice issues, the perpetual marijuana haze, or the obscene salaries paid to professional athletes while people starve to death in the streets several blocks away? Is it just because of that? Justin Bieber was spotted carrying around a cigarette last week, leading to
No. This is not news.
Well, anyways, that's it for this week, Vancouver. Join us next week when I finally get that exclusive interview with that Air Miles MasterCard sales rep from the airport who keeps yelling at me every time I'm on a flight.